The massive doors of the Galactic Council chamber opened with a deep rumble. Ambassador Sarah Chen walked through them, her black diplomatic uniform crisp and professional. Behind her, the other human delegates followed in silence. The chamber was huge, with floating platforms arranged in a perfect circle around the center stage. Each platform held representatives from different alien species. Sarah looked up at the towering figures on their platforms. The Zephyrians floated in their crystalline forms, light dancing through their transparent bodies. The Carathians sat heavy in their mechanical suits, their forearms folded across their chests. The insect-like Vex clicked their mandibles together in what humans had learned was disapproval. "The Council will hear the final statements," announced Chancellor Vex Thul, his voice echoing through translators. His blue crystal form pulsed with authority. Sarah stepped forward to the speaking platform. She had prepared for this moment for weeks, knowing what was coming. The charges against humanity were serious. Too aggressive, they said. Too dangerous. Too willing to fight when others preferred to talk. "Honored council members," Sarah began, her voice steady. "Humanity has served this council faithfully for 57 years. We have honored every treaty, followed every law, and contributed to galactic peace. When the Draken Empire threatened the outer colonies, human ships fought beside yours. When the plague struck Kepler Station, human doctors saved millions of alien lives." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. The Carathian representative, General Thokmar, leaned forward. "Yet you build more warships each year. Your military grows stronger while others seek peace." "We build ships to protect ourselves and our allies," Sarah replied. "The galaxy is not as peaceful as this chamber pretends. Pirates raid the trade routes. Slavers steal entire populations. Someone must stand against them." The insectoid Vex delegate Hive speaker Zix clicked loudly. "Humans solve every problem with violence. You are a warrior species that cannot change." Sarah felt her anger rising but kept her voice calm. "We are protectors. When the Shadow Fleet attacked the Centauri colonies, where were your ships? When raiders threatened the civilian transports near Vega, who drove them away? Human ships. Human lives lost defending others." "Exactly the problem," said Chancellor Vexthul. "You appoint yourselves as protectors without asking. You expand your influence through military action. Other species fear you. They should fear the real threats," Sarah shot back. "While you debate in this chamber, real evil grows in the dark spaces between stars. We have seen the signs. Something terrible is coming, and when it arrives, you will wish you had more warriors, not fewer." The chamber fell silent. Sarah had touched on forbidden knowledge. Human deep space scouts had reported strange signals, dead worlds and missing colonies. The Council refused to investigate, calling it human paranoia. Elder Thylix of the ancient Etherian race spoke for the first time. His voice was like wind through leaves. "The young species always believe in monsters in the darkness. We have maintained peace for 1,000 years through wisdom, not weapons. Your peace exists because others are willing to fight for it," Sarah said. "Humanity has bled to keep that peace. We have earned our place here. Have you?" Chancellor Vexthul's form grew brighter. "Your colony ships push deeper into unexplored space each year. Your mining operations strip entire asteroid fields. Your population grows faster than any other species. You consume resources like a plague. We explore because we must grow. We mine because we need materials. We have children because life is precious to us," Sarah replied. "These are not crimes." "They are when they threaten the balance," said the Carathian general. "Your species cannot be contained. You spread like wildfire, consuming everything in your path." Sarah looked around the chamber. She saw fear in the alien faces, but also something worse. She saw minds already made up. "This trial was just for show. The decision had been made long ago. You fear us because we remind you of what you used to be," she said quietly. "Before you became comfortable. Before you forgot that strength sometimes preserves what talking cannot." "The Council has heard enough," Chancellor Vexthul announced. "We will now vote on Resolution 4471. All those in favor of expelling humanity from the Galactic Council?" Platform after platform lit up with approval. Sarah counted them with growing despair. The Zephyrians, yes. The Carathians, yes. The Vexhive, yes. Even some of the smaller species that humans had helped voted against them. "The vote is unanimous," the Chancellor declared. "Humanity is hereby expelled from the Galactic Council. All human colonies within Council space must be evacuated within 30 standard days. All human military vessels will withdraw beyond the boundary markers. All human citizens in Council space will be relocated for their own safety. The last part sent chills down Sarah's spine. Relocated meant imprisoned until the evacuation was complete. This is a mistake, Sarah said, her voice carrying across the silent chamber. You exile us for being strong. You punish us for being willing to fight. But strength and courage are not sins. They are virtues that you have forgotten. She paused, looking directly at Chancellor Vexthal. When the darkness comes, and it will come, you will remember this day. You will remember that you cast out your strongest defenders because you were too proud to admit you needed them. The human delegation will leave immediately, the Chancellor announced. Your diplomatic immunity ends now. Sarah straightened her uniform and looked one last time around the chamber. You think you are sending us into exile, but you are setting us free.
Free from your rules.
Free from your fears. Free to build something better. She turned and walked toward the exit, her fellow diplomats following. At the threshold, she paused and looked back. You will remember us, she said, and someday you will need us again. I hope we are feeling generous when that day comes. The great doors closed behind them with a final echoing boom. In the corridor outside, Sarah's assistant, David Park, approached her. Ma'am, what are your orders? Sarah looked out through the massive windows at the stars beyond. Somewhere out there, humanity would have to build a new future. Without the Council's protection. Without their resources, but also without their limitations. Send a message to all human worlds, she said. Tell them to prepare for evacuation. And tell Admiral Rodriguez to ready the fleet. We have 30 days to move an entire civilization. Where will we go? David asked. Sarah smiled grimly. Somewhere they can't follow. Somewhere we can grow strong enough that this never happens again. The exile had begun, but Sarah Chen suspected it would not end the way the Council expected. Admiral Marcus Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the battleship Earth's Pride, watching the evacuation of New Geneva Colony through the main display. Massive cargo ships loaded with people, equipment, and everything humanity could carry away from their former home. The sight made his jaw clench with anger. Sir, the last transport is ready to depart, reported Captain Lisa Park, his tactical officer. Colony population evacuated. Industrial facilities stripped. Defense platforms dismantled. Good work, Captain, Marcus replied. Any interference from local authorities? The Carathian patrol fleet is keeping their distance, but they're watching everything we do. I think they're surprised by how thorough we are. Marcus nodded. The aliens expected humans to run in panic, leaving valuable infrastructure behind. Instead, humanity was conducting the most organized military withdrawal in galactic history. Every bolt, every computer chip, every piece of technology that could be moved was being taken. They thought we would abandon our colonies like scared animals, Marcus muttered. They forgot we are engineers as well as fighters. On the planet below, the last human transport lifted off from the capital city. The buildings remained, but they were empty shells. Humans had removed power generators, manufacturing equipment, medical supplies, even the computer networks. What they could not take, they destroyed rather than leave for alien scavengers. Admiral, incoming transmission from the evacuation fleet at Kepler Station, announced the communications officer. Dr. Elena Vasquez appeared on screen, her face streaked with exhaustion. She wore a dirty engineer's coverall and held a plasma torch in one hand. Marcus, we have a problem at Kepler. The station authorities are claiming our industrial equipment belongs to the station, not to human colonists. They have security teams blocking access to our manufacturing bays. How many people are involved? Marcus asked. About 3,000 humans work in those facilities. The Vex Hive governor says they are essential personnel and cannot leave. Marcus felt his anger spike. Essential personnel was a polite way of saying prisoners. What's your current situation? Our evacuation ships are loaded and ready. But I'm not leaving without our people. We built those factories with human hands and human knowledge. They have no right to keep them or us. Agreed. Stand by. Marcus turned to Captain Park. How long until we reach Kepler? 18 hours at maximum speed, sir. Make it 12 hours. And signal the third battle group to meet us there. Captain Park grinned. Aye, sir. Should I send a diplomatic message to the Hive governor? Send this message, Marcus said coldly. In 12 hours, every human at Kepler Station will be free to leave. The Hive governor can cooperate or get out of our way. His choice. 12 hours later, the human battle fleet dropped out of hyperspace near Kepler Station. 24 warships arranged in attack formation, their weapons powered but not yet targeted. The massive station hung in space like a metal spider, its arms reaching out to docking bays and industrial platforms. Hive Governor HFY War is requesting communication, reported the communications officer. The insectoid alien appeared on screen, his mandibles clicking nervously. Admiral Rodriguez, you bring warships to a peaceful evacuation. This is against council law. The council expelled us, Governor, Marcus replied calmly. We are no longer bound by council law. Now release our people. The workers have contracts. They must stay to maintain critical systems. Governor, let me explain something to you. Those workers built those systems with human technology and human expertise. Without them, your systems will break down in weeks. With them gone, you have paperweights floating in space. Marcus leaned forward. But that is your problem. My problem is getting my people home safely. You have 1 hour to release them. And if I refuse? Marcus smiled without warmth. Then you will discover why the council called us too aggressive. 50 minutes later, transports began launching from Kepler Station. Human workers emerged from the industrial sections carrying personal belongings and portable equipment. Many looked angry, but they were free. Dr. Vasquez was among the last to leave. As her transport approached the fleet, she contacted Marcus again. The manufacturing equipment? What manufacturing equipment? Marcus asked innocently. Elena grinned. The plasma torches worked perfectly. Nothing but scrap metal left behind. Shame about those industrial accidents. Terrible shame, Marcus agreed. Plasma systems are so dangerous when not properly maintained. As the last transport docked, Marcus received reports from across human space. The evacuation was proceeding on schedule. 200 colonies emptied. 15 major industrial centers stripped of useful equipment. 40 space stations either relocated or dismantled. But the aliens were learning too. At the Rigel colonies, Zephyrian forces had seized the spaceports, trapping human civilians. At Proxima Base, Carathian troops surrounded the human residential district, claiming it was for their protection. Sir, Captain Park reported, we have hostage situations at 17 locations. Local authorities are using human civilians as bargaining chips. Marcus studied the tactical display. His forces were spread thin across dozens of star systems. He could not fight battles everywhere at once. Send this message to all human commanders, he ordered. No human gets left behind. Use whatever force is necessary to extract our people, but avoid civilian casualties when possible. Make it clear that holding humans hostage will result in immediate military response. Over the following weeks, the galaxy learned what human military doctrine really meant. When Zephyrian forces blocked evacuation ships at Rigel, human marines stormed the spaceport with non-lethal weapons, stunning guards and freeing civilians in under 20 minutes. When Carathian troops surrounded human neighborhoods, human ships landed directly in the residential areas, ignoring weapons fire and loading civilians under covering fire. The aliens discovered that humans did not negotiate when their people were threatened. They acted. At Alpha Station, the station commander tried to charge humans massive fees for evacuation transport. Within hours, human engineering teams had restored an abandoned mining ship to working condition and evacuated the entire human population for free. The station commander found himself managing a facility with no human technicians and rapidly failing life support systems. As the evacuation neared completion, Marcus received a priority message from Earth. President Morrison appeared on screen, looking exhausted but determined. Admiral, how are we doing? Better than expected, Mr. President. We will have all our people out of council space within the deadline. Most of our portable infrastructure has been saved. And our destination? Marcus smiled. The Outer Rim surveys identified several suitable systems beyond council space. Wild space, they call it. No government, no restrictions, plenty of resources. It will be dangerous, Morrison warned. Sir, with respect, we just proved we are the dangerous ones. Pirates and raiders in the Outer Rim are about to learn what happens when you threaten organized humans with modern weapons. Morrison nodded. Very well. Admiral, you have authorization to establish forward bases in the target systems. We will rebuild stronger than before. After the transmission ended, Marcus looked out at the stars. Humanity was leaving the civilized galaxy, heading into the unknown. The aliens thought they were sending humans into exile and obscurity. They were wrong. They were sending humanity into freedom. Captain Park, set course for the Outer Rim. Signal all ships. Operation New Home begins now. Aye, sir. Destination? Marcus smiled. The future, Captain. Our future. The rocky world that would become New Constantinople looked nothing like Earth. Red dust covered everything, and the thin atmosphere required breathing masks for humans. But President James Morrison saw its potential as he stood on the temporary landing platform, watching the massive construction mechs assemble the first permanent structures. "It's not much to look at," said Admiral Rodriguez, joining him at the observation rail. "Neither was Earth when our ancestors first walked out of caves," Morrison replied. "But look at it now, Marcus. In 6 months, we have built more here than some species build in decades." Around them, the human colony buzzed with activity. Massive cargo ships from the evacuation fleet had been converted into orbital construction platforms. The industrial equipment salvaged from abandoned colonies now powered new factories and foundries. Where once there had been empty desert, now stood the skeleton of a great city. "The Senate is asking when you plan to return to Earth," Rodriguez said carefully. Morrison was quiet for a long moment. "I am not going back, Marcus. Earth is the past. This is our future, sir. The Council wanted us gone because we were growing too strong, too independent. They were right to fear us, but wrong to think exile would weaken us." Morrison turned to face the Admiral. "Out here, beyond their laws and limitations, we can become what we were meant to be." Before Rodriguez could respond, Captain Lisa Park approached with a data pad. "Mr. President, we have reports from the outer perimeter. Long-range sensors detected 3 ships approaching the system. They are not responding to communications. Composition?" Rodriguez asked. "Appears to be a raider fleet. Mixed vessel types, no unified design. Classic pirate formation." Morrison smiled grimly. "How long since we left Council space?" 4 months, 18 days, Park replied. "And already the scavengers come to test us. They think humans in exile must be weak and desperate." Morrison looked at Rodriguez. "Admiral, you have my authorization to deal with this threat as you see fit." "Understood, sir." "Captain Park, alert the defense fleet. Standard anti-piracy formation." An hour later, the human defense fleet engaged the raiders at the edge of the system. The battle was swift and decisive. Human ships designed for warfare against organized enemies overwhelmed the pirate vessels in minutes. 2 raiders were destroyed outright, the 3rd captured. From the captured ship, humans learned disturbing news. Word had spread through the criminal underworld that humans had been exiled and were now helpless refugees. Every pirate gang, slaver ring, and raider fleet in the sector was planning to prey on human settlements. "How many hostile groups are we talking about?" Morrison asked during the briefing. "Intelligence suggests at least 20 major pirate organizations," reported Colonel Sarah Reeves, head of military intelligence, "plus dozens of smaller groups. They see us as easy targets." "Then we will teach them otherwise," Morrison said coldly. Over the following months, human expansion into the Outer Rim became a military campaign. Each new colony established was also a fortress. Each transport convoy traveled with armed escorts. When raiders attacked human settlements, the response was overwhelming and immediate. General Lisa Park, promoted after her success at Kepler, developed new tactics specifically for the lawless frontier. Human forces would not simply defend against attacks. They would hunt down the attackers and destroy their bases completely. "The pirates are used to civilized species," she explained to her officers. "When the Zephyrians or Carathians are attacked, they file complaints with local authorities or negotiate ransom payments. They do not burn pirate bases to the ground and scatter the ashes." The strategy worked brutally well. When the Crimson Fleet attacked a human mining station, human warships tracked them back to their hidden base in an asteroid field. Within days, the entire Crimson Fleet ceased to exist. When slavers raided a human agricultural colony, human marines followed their ships across 3 star systems and freed not just human prisoners, but hundreds of aliens who had been enslaved for years. Word spread quickly through the underworld. Humans were not victims. They were predators. But human expansion brought unexpected allies as well. The Kythera, a reptilian species oppressed by both the Council and local pirates, made first contact with human colonists on the mining world of New Denver. Their delegate, Scalesinger Vash, arrived in a battered ship requesting sanctuary. "Your people fight the raiders who enslave mine," Vash explained through a translation device. "The Council ignores our pleas for help, but humans answer with action." Morrison met with the Kythera delegation personally. "What can your people offer in return for our protection?" "We are miners and engineers," Vash replied. "We know these star systems better than any other species. hidden routes, resource locations, pirate bases, and we build things that last forever. The alliance proved valuable immediately. Kythera knowledge helped humans locate the richest mining sites and avoid dangerous areas. In return, human protection allowed Kythera colonies to flourish for the first time in generations. Other species followed. The Drakmari, warrior merchants cast out by the Council for their aggressive trading practices. The Nexari, engineers whose advanced technology was considered too dangerous for civilized space. Each group brought skills and knowledge that made human settlements stronger. But growth brought new challenges. After 2 years of expansion, Morrison faced a crisis of governance. Human colonies were spread across dozens of star systems, with no unified command structure. Earth's government was too far away to make quick decisions, and local colonial councils often disagreed with each other. "We need a new form of government," Morrison announced to his advisors. "Something designed for rapid expansion and quick decision-making." Dr. Elena Vasquez, now Director of Colonial Development, looked troubled. "James, you are talking about abandoning democracy." "No," Morrison replied. "I'm talking about evolving beyond it. Democracy works for stable, peaceful societies. Out here, we need something stronger." The solution came from studying history. Morrison declared the formation of the Terran Imperium, with himself as the first emperor. But unlike ancient empires, this one was built on merit and efficiency rather than birthright. Colonial governors were selected based on competence, not politics. Military commanders answered directly to the emperor, not to distant committees. Local colonies maintained autonomy for daily governance, but strategic decisions came from the center. The reaction from Earth was explosive. The Senate denounced Morrison as a dictator. Some human colonies refused to recognize the new government, but the results spoke for themselves. Under the Imperium, human expansion accelerated dramatically. New colonies were established and fortified in months rather than years. Trade routes between human worlds flourished under military protection. Allied species found themselves welcomed as equal citizens rather than subjects. 5 years after the exile began, Emperor Morrison stood in the throne room of the Imperial Palace on New Constantinople. The chamber was carved from the living rock of the mountain, its walls decorated with banners from 100 worlds. Admiral Rodriguez, now bearing the title of Imperial Fleet Commander, brought the weekly reports. "Your Majesty, we have confirmation that the raider threat has been eliminated from sectors 7 through 12. The last major pirate base was destroyed yesterday. Allied species integration? Proceeding smoothly. The Kythera Second Fleet has completed training on human ship designs. The Drakmari Trade Guild reports record profits on the new commercial routes. The Nexari have finished construction of the new orbital shipyards." Morrison nodded. "And Earth?" Rodriguez hesitated. "They still refuse to acknowledge imperial authority. President Chen maintains that you are a rebel and traitor." Morrison laughed. "Sarah Chen's daughter follows in her mother's footsteps. Stubborn and principled to the end." His expression grew serious. "But she will understand eventually. When the Imperium is strong enough to protect all of humanity, even those who reject us." Through the great windows of the throne room, the lights of New Constantinople stretched to the horizon. Space elevators carried goods and people to the orbital platforms above. In the distance, the glow of industrial complexes turned night into day. The Imperium was no longer a dream. It was a reality that grew stronger each day. 20 years after the exile, Emperor James Morrison stood in the command center of the super dreadnought Humanity's Will, watching reports flood in from across the galaxy. His hair had gone gray, and lines of command marked his face, but his eyes remained sharp as steel. "Your Majesty," reported Admiral Chen, daughter of the famous ambassador, "long-range sensors are detecting massive energy signatures in the void sector. The readings match nothing in our databases." Morrison studied the holographic display. Strange pulsing lights moved through space in formations that seemed almost organic. "How large are these signatures?" "The smallest are larger than our battleships, sir. The largest—" Admiral Chen paused. "The largest are bigger than space stations." Before Morrison could respond, another officer called out, "Your Majesty, priority transmission from Galactic Council space. They are requesting immediate communication." Morrison raised an eyebrow. For 20 years, the Council had ignored the Imperium's existence, pretending the exiled humans were just another minor power in the wilderness. Now they wanted to talk. Put them through. The familiar crystal form of a Zephyrian appeared on the main screen. But this was not the arrogant chancellor who had presided over humanity's exile. This alien's light pulsed with fear and desperation. "I am Ambassador Thylix of the Galactic Council," the being said. "I request immediate audience with the human leadership regarding a matter of galactic security." "I am Emperor Morrison of the Terran Imperium," Morrison replied coldly. "State your business, Ambassador." "Your Majesty," Thylix said, clearly struggling with the title, "the galaxy faces an unprecedented threat. Unknown hostiles have destroyed 17 star systems in Council space. They consume everything organic matter, technology, even the planets themselves." Morrison exchanged glances with Admiral Chen. "Continue. Our fleets cannot stop them. They adapt to our weapons faster than we can deploy them. Their ships regenerate damage in real time. They are unlike anything we have encountered." "And you come to us, why?" Morrison asked. "Because," Thylix said with visible reluctance, "because you are the only military force in the galaxy capable of standing against them. The Imperium fleet is larger and more advanced than any single council member. Your alliance with non-council species gives you resources we lack." Morrison was silent for a long moment. Around him, his officers waited for his decision. The council that had cast them out as too dangerous now begged for their protection. "What exactly are you asking for, Ambassador?" "Military assistance. A combined fleet operation to stop these creatures before they consume the entire galaxy." "At what cost?" Thylix's form flickered with confusion. "Cost. Yes, cost. When we were council members, we gave our aid freely. Now we are an independent empire. Our military assistance comes with a price." The ambassador was quiet for several seconds. "What are your terms?" Morrison smiled without warmth. "Full recognition of the Terran Imperium as a sovereign galactic power. Formal apology for our wrongful exile. Reparations for all assets seized during our withdrawal. And a permanent seat on the council with veto power over future decisions. Those terms are difficult. The council would need time to debate." "Ambassador," Morrison interrupted, "how many systems did you say these creatures had consumed?" 17 confirmed, but the number grows daily." "Then you do not have time for debate. Accept my terms now or face your extinction alone." Thylix's crystal form pulsed rapidly. I cannot make such commitments without council approval." Morrison nodded to Admiral Chen, who cut the transmission. "Your Majesty?" she asked. "Send a message to all Imperial fleets. Begin defensive preparations. If these creatures are as dangerous as the ambassador claims, they will reach our territory eventually." "Sir, should we not consider helping the council?" "Innocent civilians are dying." Morrison walked to the great window that looked out into space. In the distance, the lights of Imperial ships formed a protective wall around the outer rim territories. "Admiral, 20 years ago the council cast us out to protect their precious stability. They preferred weakness over strength, fear over courage. Now their chickens come home to roost." "But sir," Morrison turned back to his officers, "however, we are not the council. We do not abandon those in need simply because they have been foolish. Begin preparations for Operation Deliverance." Admiral Chen looked surprised. "Sir, if the council will not accept our reasonable terms, we will act without their permission. Not for them, but for the billions of innocent beings who will die if these creatures are not stopped." Over the following days, reports from council space grew more desperate. The creatures, which Imperial intelligence dubbed devourers based on their behavior, consumed entire worlds with terrifying efficiency. They left nothing behind but empty space and dead stars. The council fleets fought bravely but uselessly. Traditional weapons had little effect on the alien ships, which seemed to be partially organic. Energy weapons were absorbed and converted into power for their systems. Kinetic weapons passed through their hulls like they were made of liquid. Meanwhile, Imperial scientists worked frantically to understand the enemy. Dr. Elena Vasquez, now in her 70s but still brilliant, led teams analyzing captured sensor data. "Your Majesty," she reported, "I believe these creatures are not truly ships at all. They appear to be living organisms, possibly evolved in the void between galaxies. They feed on organized matter and energy." "Weaknesses?" Morrison asked. "Possibly. Living things require coordination, communication between parts. If we could disrupt their neural networks, develop countermeasures immediately." "How long do we have?" "Based on their current rate of consumption, They will reach the border of Imperial space within 6 months. Morrison called an emergency session of the Imperial War Council. Representatives from all member species gathered in the Great Hall of New Constantinople. The debate was fierce. "We should let the council burn," argued General Corex of the Drekmari. "They showed no mercy when we were weak." "Billions of innocents will die," countered Speaker Vash of the Kithera. "We cannot allow genocide simply for revenge." Morrison listened to all viewpoints before speaking. The Imperium was built on a simple principle: we protect those who cannot protect themselves. The council leadership may be our enemies, but their people are not. He stood, his voice carrying across the chamber. "We will launch Operation Deliverance, not for the council, but for the galaxy itself, because that is what makes us different from them." The vote was close, but the decision was made. The Imperium would fight. 3 days later, Ambassador Thylix returned to the humanity's will. This time he came in person aboard a small diplomatic vessel. Morrison received him in the ship's throne room, a chamber designed to intimidate. "Your Majesty," Thylix said, his crystal form dim with exhaustion, "I bring authorization from the council. We accept your terms." Morrison studied the alien carefully. "All of them?" "Yes, recognition, apology, reparations, council seat. All of it." "And what changed their minds?" Thylix was quiet for a moment. "The creatures reached the core worlds yesterday. Zephyria Prime has gone dark. 12 billion souls gone in 6 hours. Morrison felt a chill. The core worlds were the most heavily defended systems in the galaxy. If they could not hold against these creatures— "Very well, Ambassador. The Imperium accepts the Council's surrender. I mean request for alliance. For the first time in 20 years, human ships prepared to enter Council space. Not as exiles returning home, but as conquerors coming to save their enemies." The combined Imperial fleet was the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. Over 3,000 ships from dozens of species, all flying under the banner of the Terran Imperium. Admiral Sarah Chen, now bearing her mother's diplomatic skills alongside her father's tactical genius, stood on the bridge of the flagship Humanity's Will as they approached the galactic core. The sight that greeted them was a nightmare. Where once the brilliant lights of civilized worlds had shone, now there was only darkness. The Devourers had consumed entire star systems, leaving behind empty space and the cold remnants of dead suns. "Mother of God," whispered Captain Torres from the sensor station. "They have eaten everything. Planets, moons, even the space stations." Admiral Chen forced herself to remain calm. "Status report on enemy forces?" "Long-range sensors detect massive Devourer formations around the remaining core worlds. They appear to be feeding on the last population centers." Emperor Morrison's voice came through the communication system from his command center deep in the ship. "Admiral, you have full tactical command. Save who can be saved, but remember our primary objective." "Yes, Your Majesty. All ships, this is Admiral Chen. Operation Deliverance begins now. Remember, we are not here for the Council. We are here for the innocent beings who cannot defend themselves." The Imperial fleet split into battle groups, each targeting a different Devourer formation. The creatures were even more horrible up close. Their ships looked like enormous insects crossed with mechanical nightmares. They pulsed with organic life but gleamed with alien metal. The first engagement began near the world of Kepler Prime, where 2 billion Carathians waited helplessly as the Devourers consumed their orbital defenses. The Imperial 7th Fleet, led by the Kithera battlecruiser Stonesinger, engaged the creatures directly. The battle was unlike anything in military history. The Devourers absorbed energy weapons and adapted to kinetic attacks within minutes. But Dr. Vasquez's research had revealed their weakness. The creatures shared a collective intelligence through biological communication networks. "Target their neural clusters," Admiral Chen ordered. "Jam their frequencies. Make them fight as individuals, not as a hive mind." Imperial ships unleashed a new weapon, psychic scramblers developed by the Nixari, devices that disrupted biological communication on specific frequencies. The effect was immediate and devastating. The coordinated Devourer swarms suddenly broke apart into confused individual creatures. Human ships designed for close combat pressed their advantage. The Drekmari heavy cruisers used kinetic harpoons to pin the creatures in place, while human destroyers delivered nuclear warheads directly into their cores. "It's working," reported Captain Torres. "The creatures are retreating from Kepler Prime." Similar reports came from across the battlefield. Once the Imperial forces disrupted their hive mind, The Devourers lost their greatest advantage. They were still dangerous individually, but they could be killed. But victory came at a terrible cost. The creatures fought with desperate fury, throwing themselves at Imperial ships in suicidal attacks. The brave Cathara battlecruiser Stonesinger was lost when a dying Devourer rammed it, killing all hands including Scalesinger Vash, the hero who had first allied with humanity decades ago. As the battle raged, Admiral Chen received reports from the outer systems. More Devourer fleets were arriving from the void between galaxies. This was not just an invasion, it was a migration. An entire species fleeing something even worse in their home territory. "Admiral," came a transmission from Emperor Morrison. "Sensors detect the largest Devourer formation at the galactic center itself. It appears to be their primary hive mind, the creature controlling all the others." Admiral Chen studied the tactical display. The central hive was enormous, larger than a small moon, and protected by thousands of smaller creatures. Attacking it would require sacrificing most of the Imperial fleet. "Your Majesty, I recommend we evacuate the remaining populations and retreat to Imperial space. We can establish a defensive line and wait for them to weaken themselves against our fortifications." "Negative, Admiral. If that hive mind escapes into the void, it will return with reinforcements from wherever these creatures came from." This ends here today. Admiral Chen understood. This was not just about saving the galaxy. This was about proving that humanity deserved to lead it. All Imperial forces, this is Admiral Chen. Form up for the final assault on the central hive. We are going to end this war today. The combined Imperial fleet, now reduced to less than 2,000 ships, formed a massive spearhead formation. At its tip flew the super dreadnought Humanity's Will, Emperor Morrison commanding from the bridge. The assault on the galactic center was the bloodiest battle in known history. The Devourers fought with the fury of a cornered animal, throwing everything they had at the advancing Imperial fleet. Ships died by the dozens, their crews sacrificing themselves to push just a little closer to the hive mind. The Drakmari heavy fleet held the left flank, their massive ships absorbing incredible punishment while delivering devastating firepower. The Nexari technical vessels provided electronic warfare support, jamming Devourer communications across thousands of light years. Human ships formed the center, pushing relentlessly forward through a storm of organic fire. Admiral Chen's own ship, the battlecruiser Diplomatic Immunity, was named in honor of her mother's final words to the Council. As they closed on the hive mind, she could see the massive creature clearly through the viewports. It was beautiful in a terrifying way, like a living nebula shot through with veins of light. "Admiral," reported Captain Torres, his voice tight with strain, "we are in range of the hive mind, but our weapons cannot penetrate its outer shell." Admiral Chen made a decision that would echo through history. "All ships concentrate fire on our position. Clear a path to the hive mind's core." "Ma'am, that will destroy us along with the target." "Yes, it will, but it will save the galaxy." Before anyone could protest, Emperor Morrison's voice cut through the communication system. "Negative, Admiral. All ships, new orders. Focus your fire on the hive mind's neural clusters. Create an opening for the Humanity's Will." Admiral Chen realized what the Emperor intended. "Your Majesty, no. The Imperial fleet needs you alive. The galaxy needs the Devourers dead, Admiral. Continue the mission." The Humanity's Will broke formation and accelerated directly toward the hive mind. The massive super dreadnought had been designed as a fortress, but Morrison had ordered it retrofitted with the largest nuclear arsenal ever assembled. Not to fight other ships, but for this moment. As the ship disappeared into the hive mind's outer shell, Emperor Morrison's final transmission reached the fleet. "This is James Morrison, first Emperor of the Terran Imperium, to all Imperial forces. We came to this galaxy as exiles. We leave it as its saviors. The Imperium will endure. Long live humanity." The explosion could be seen across the entire galactic core. The hive mind, struck at its heart by enough nuclear fire to destroy a planet, convulsed and died. Across the galaxy, every remaining Devourer ship suddenly went silent, their controlling intelligence destroyed. In the aftermath, Admiral Chen stood in the command center that had once held Emperor Morrison. Around her, the surviving Imperial fleet began the long process of rescue and recovery. Billions of beings across the galaxy owed their lives to Imperial sacrifice. A transmission arrived from the remnants of the Galactic Council. Chancellor Vexthal, One of the few original council members to survive appeared on screen. Admiral Chen, on behalf of the Galactic Council, I wish to express our profound gratitude. Your actions have saved not just our worlds, but all life in the galaxy. Chancellor, Admiral Chen replied coolly, the Imperium acted not for your gratitude, but because it was the right thing to do. Indeed, the Council would like to discuss the terms of a new galactic order, perhaps a merger of our governments. No. Admiral Chen's voice was final. The Council had its chance to lead. You failed. The Imperium will establish the new galactic order. She paused, looking around at the multinational crew that surrounded her. Human, Kithara, Drakmari, Nexari, and dozens of other species working together as equals. But we will not repeat your mistakes. The new order will be based on merit, not species. On cooperation, not domination. On the principle that all beings deserve protection, even those who once cast us out. 6 months later, Admiral Chen stood where Emperor Morrison once had, in the throne room of New Constantinople. But she did not sit on the throne. Instead, it had been replaced with a round table, where representatives of every species in the galaxy could meet as equals. The age of emperors and councils is over, she announced to the assembled delegates. Today begins the age of the Galactic Imperium, where all species stand together as one people, under one banner, with one purpose, to protect each other from the darkness between the stars. Through the great windows, the lights of 1,000 worlds shone in the night sky, each one protected by imperial ships, governed by imperial law, united in imperial purpose. Humanity had been exiled for being too strong, too dangerous, too unwilling to accept the limitations others placed upon them. In the end, it was exactly those qualities that saved the galaxy. The exile was over. The Imperium had begun.